To soothe the soul. From the smooth and smooth, strictly soul.
Let's go. Okay.
It's the Office Journal on Smooth 98.1.
That's very correct. It's the Office Journal here on Smooth 98.1, and I come bearing smiles and good energy this morning. I hope your time in the office or out of the office is fine. If you're in transit, if you are home, don't worry. We intend to give you good information and also keep you company with the vital information necessary, not just for your career, but for your personal development. And this morning, you can join us and be a part of the conversation as always. You can start on YouTube where you get to see not just my face, but the gorgeous, the radiant face of my guest this morning. Her smile is lighting up the whole studio, even though we have floodlight in here, but it's just adding to the whole beauty. So please go right now to the YouTube page, which is youtube.com/smooth 981 FM Lagos. Again, youtube.com/smooth 981 FM Lagos. If you follow us across all social media platforms, you should have seen the flyer there. Starting from our WhatsApp status, there is the Twitter, there is the Instagram. You just find it even on Facebook. So go to our Facebook, our Instagram, and our Twitter, and you find all the information you need to have ahead of time. That said, we are talking about what the human resource manager needs you to know. And I have just the perfect person to discuss this. Someone who's an HR consultant for small and medium enterprises. And she's so passionate about that she even established Unicorn HR Consulting, which is an HR outsourcing team. She is very, very passionate about just helping SMEs align employees to the goals and objectives of their company, and very interested in your career development as usual. Yes, as always, and also very invested in employee development and also digital marketing. But this morning, we are talking to her in the capacity of an HR consultant. So ladies and gentlemen, I call her my very rich auntie, the one and the only Aderonke Salami. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me, Shil.
It's always a pleasure having you here. Thank you for obliging me. So I'll just dive right into it. In fact, before I start to reel out my questions, you have been in this space for over 10 years, if I am correct. You've had extensive experience. So let me first go to the topic, what the HR manager wants you to know. What would you, assuming, not even assuming, you have seen many things over the years. So what are those things that you see employees doing and you like them to know, no, this is not how it works? One of the things I intend to ask you first is how many times employees think HR managers are always on the side of the management, and the HR manager always give precedence, give importance, the employer is always right compared to the employees. We'll come back to that later. But first, what are some of those notions you would like to correct in the employees?
Okay, thank you so much, Jill, for inviting me again. Based on experience, one of the things I would like to correct is that the HR managers are not just for the management alone. If you see one of my statements, it's always about bridging the gap between employees and employers. So I think that one of the things that we need to correct, and the notion that we need to correct, is that HR managers are the middleman. That's how I like to call us. We're the middlemen, trying to bridge that gap, trying to make sure that, at the end of the day, the goals and objectives of the company, because that's the most important part. The goals and the objectives of the company is actually aligned on both sides. It's not just the employees alone, but also the management as well. And so the truth is, HR managers are employees themselves.
Well, we don't feel that way sometimes.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
All right, then. Well, that's one of the cardinal things I actually thought, and I had in my mind that it will be, I'm guessing it should be one of the things you'd like to address. So let's go to the basics. The HR department, what exactly is the HR department all about? You have said the HR managers are middlemen. So let's talk about what the HR manager actually is involved in. Some of the roles of the typical HR manager.
So human resources is such a large department, right? Because we're not just looking at recruitment, we're looking at employee relations, we're looking at employee management, we're also looking at salaries, benefits, and the work. So really the HR manager's role is not just in the recruitment space, because that's what a lot of people have, the idea behind HR managers is just, oh, we're here to recruit. But it goes beyond just recruitment. It goes just beyond the employees themselves. Lately, what you'll be seeing now is even the HR manager is part of the sales team. The HR manager is part of the marketing team. You hear things like human resources business partner. The idea is that, every aspect of the organization has to run and function in such a way that it gels with, like I mentioned earlier, the goals and the objectives of the company. So that's in a nutshell, what the HR manager, does. If you want to do more, you'll have to go deep and deep and deep into exactly what it is. But that's why you have different aspects of HR. You hear people say, oh, they're HR generalists. You hear people say that they're HR executives. It depends on what area they're looking at. You see some people call themselves, their roles are talent specialists. Their focus is just talent, just the employees themselves. So the HR managing role is, or the HR role is such a broad topic that it can't even be covered in just one conversation.
Okay. So we'll actually go on a break, and when we come back, I think I'm curious in having just a little bit of those things, the HR generalist, the HR talent hunting manager. I don't know what I just came up with, but you understand, so that an average person is aware to an extent, because the truth is, not every employee understands that there are specialization. And if you come up to the HR manager, who you think is supposed to be the one that will carry all your problems to the employees, and the HR manager opens his or her mouth and tells you, no, I am not in charge of this, it begins to look like you are not on their side. So just a little bit of what some of those specialization in the HR department and the expected roles, just an idea of that when we come after the break. And then we go further if these roles vary from organizations to organizations. If you're joining us for the first time, we are talking about what the HR manager needs you to know. We're just laying the groundwork and the foundation so you can be a part of it. I will tell you the channels when we come back after this break. So we have a 3 minutes break thereabouts.
Okay.
One day I'm going to have you live in the studio.
Right.
One day.
Very soon.
It's been online all of these days.
You know, say your candidates no go win. You won't call use a whole vote, make statement. Now, wasted vote be that now. Why you no go use that vote, take recover Nigeria, make it work for you? Because if this government win again, better. Now, suffer promise and poverty with a carry play with that too.
This
of course it is true.
serious.
Don't waste that vote. Vote PDP to recover Nigeria. PDP! Sponsored by the Presidential Campaign Council. It's time to enjoy fast and reliable internet connection for less.
It's time to go big in the Airtel Home Broadband all-time mega offer.
It's time to take advantage in the Airtel Home Broadband all-time mega offer. Get a MiFi with up to 125 gigabyte bonus data for just 5,000 naira, or a router with up to
Okay, so some of the other
data
questions that will come later on, depending on how the conversation goes. Who recommends, who fires
now
an employee? Is it the the HR manager, or is it the employer? Because in the case where sometimes you get to talk or liaise more with the HR manager. So if the person is fired, and I'm guessing the HR manager makes recommendations, right, to the employer. So technically, who fires? And you know how sometimes there is office politics when you're trying to suck up to your HR manager or all those ones. So yeah, then we go to the part of entrepreneurship. I think something you mentioned in your last post that went viral on LinkedIn. I'm guessing the
2023.
So like,
I'm like, what's going on? Okay, that was unexpected, actually.
I saw the reactions on it. I said, okay, this will be interesting.
Attention, please. Escape to amazing countries for a minute or for a lifetime. Navigate your way around the world and experience pleasure.
Okay.
Smooth 98.1 brings you a fantastic voyage on the Casbah, a weekly destination guide on radio to help you make the best of your journey when you travel. Yeah, discover interesting places beyond your wildest imagination. Travel the world on Fantastic Voyage here on Smooth 98.1 every Friday from 2 p.m. Wherever the place, don't just Google it, experience it.
You're back. It's Smooth 98.1. Love music, love life. Right now we are discussing okay, well, not exactly entrepreneurship, but what the HR manager needs you to do, wants you to know here on Office Journal on Smooth 98.1. It's like there's always one sheep or the other when it concerns work. There is entrepreneurship, and every other kind of show. And I have an HR consultant here as my guest. Her name is Aderonke Salami. She's joining me via Zoom, but you can see her lovely face on YouTube if you join us there. So you search for www.youtube.com/smooth 981 FM Lagos. That also allows you to drop your comments, your questions in the live chat or using the live chat option. But if you do not like that, you can come to WhatsApp. It is 0809-444-0981. So back from the break, before the break, I said, I'd like you to just touch on the different things or specializations involved in the HR. So we do not just have the HR manager who interfaces between, or who is like the interface between the employee and the employer. You also have the talent manager and all of that. So just a little bit of enlightenment.
Okay. Earlier we were talking about, HR managers as a whole, but in specialization, the different parts. Like I mentioned before, we have HR managers, in different aspects, such as training and development, such as payroll administration, such as talent acquisition, and the rest. So each of these roles, are different. Every aspect plays a different role in the organization. Take, for instance, the training and development. Most organizations we see are becoming more invested in the growth of their employees. So the creative part of HR that specifically helps them to grow. They grow based on, okay, if for instance you are a customer service manager or a customer service person, your career growth should be important to the organization you work for. So if you're starting off as just a normal officer, the next step is that you're going to be maybe an executive, depending on the policy and the procedures of the organization. And that's the role of the training and development specialist, who comes up with different training models, career advisory roles that can help you to grow in your organization. Now, when you're looking at the payroll benefits, not everybody is very good with that. There's a whole system, there's a whole software. Some organizations use softwares to, depending on how large their company is, they use software to administrate the salaries at the end of the month. And so you have specialists for that.
Mm.
And then you were looking at also talent acquisition. Those are in the recruitment field. They're making sure that every single person that comes into the organization has been, has gone through a proper process from the beginning to when they start work, on the first day of their experience as an employee in the company. And then we have the generalists. The generalists literally do everything.
Jack of all trades.
Jack of all trades, right? Because that's dependent on the kind of organization that they work in. So we see a lot of SMEs go for they go for HR generalists. That way, everything that has to do with HR, they're able to to function in that role. So that covers most of the HR roles that we have in the HR field.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense, because before you go to the HR generalist, I already had an assumption that the HR generalist might be the person who is doing all of that, which is what we tend to see more of. I think the first time I came across something other than the HR generalist has to be on LinkedIn, when I saw something involved with talent acquisition or something like that. Yeah. So you get to see all of those interesting titles on LinkedIn and the description of what they do. That was where I got curious that, okay, aside just doing everything. Okay, so the organization, if I'm correct, just to be very clear, if I'm correct, the organization structure determines the kind of HR manager they would have?
Yes. I would say I agree with you. Depends on the kind of structure that they want. Not everybody has the capacity to have all of them, all of these roles placed in them. So it depends on what kind of organization they are. And one of the things, especially based on my experience, one of the things that I've realized is that not even many companies know what they even actually need in terms of that. So one of the things that they should be doing is, investing in the HR department as a whole. Once you have someone who's the head of the HR department, that person will help to structure what is needed to be, where at each particular time, in the organization.
Okay, a little digression, even though it's still related to the HR manager, but that's related to your last post. And we are talking about not many organizations even know what they should be on the lookout for. So for someone who's a founder of a startup, you definitely need someone, if you're going to have an HR manager, you need someone who knows your onion. So what are those things you should be looking out for in the HR manager you'd want to hire?
What you should be looking out for is, experience. That's the first thing. Someone who understands people management. It's not enough, because I'm sure you've seen on LinkedIn a lot of, especially with what's been happening over the past 2 weeks, you see a lot of people, getting out of their jobs, getting out of, they're being fired, to say the least. You want to be able to have HR managers that are, invested in people, who know people and who know how to handle them. It's not enough to just have the title HR. You should have the experience, you should have the qualifications, really to be able to carry on that.
You mentioned experience. How are you supposed to know, say, okay, you're someone who has been involved in hiring, I suppose. What are the things you're looking out for when you want to hire? Because everybody can put experience on their CV, right? What are those key markers that you will look out for to know if this is HR manager that can do the job, that is emotionally intelligent? Because we'll go back to that part of who fires really, who lays people off. Is it the CEO, the employer, or is it the HR manager who recommends for laying off? So back to it, how do you indeed know a person is experienced, even though they've written it on their CV or resume?
Well, that's a tricky one, right? Why did I say that's a tricky one? Because everybody, including me, I will tell you, you see, especially when you look at my post, I'll tell you that one of the ways that you can get into a job is, by letting us know, your experience over time. That's where the interview room is. When you're trying to speak to a HR manager, or you are you're the hiring manager speaking to a HR manager, what you want to know is their experience per time. When we say experience, it's usually just on the job kind of experience. And that's why we have a lot of issues, all around. When you hear HR managers, you hear things like, don't like the HR manager, or HR manager. We already have a bad name because not everybody understands what they are expected to do. Not everybody knows what they are expected to do. But I believe that if, for instance, someone decides that, I want to become a HR manager, the first thing you should do is to get a qualification, go for the training, get the experience first on training and then on the job. I can't predict, except I know, and then you do. Do you understand? I wouldn't be able to know except, experience based on what you've done over time, experience based on, the results that you have, experience based on, if I have to reach out to those who you've worked with, I can speak to them and they'll tell me what you've done over time. So basically the results show, what you do as a HR manager.
I'm tempted to ask, when can the HR manager be fired?
HR managers are fired all the time.
Because again, I'm yet to have that question fully answered. Maybe I'll take it after this break. The HR manager basically is the one getting across the recommendation, getting across the, aside recommendation now, the appraisal, all of those things. He's the one feeding the top guy, that's the boss, or maybe the board. Is the HR manager, right? Correct me if I'm wrong. The HR manager is the one passing the information to the people at the top, right?
It depends on the kind of role the HR manager is playing. HR manager can also be someone who's reporting to the head of department of the HR unit, right? So, so that can be that the HR manager, is reporting, the head of department is also reporting to the board or to the to the top management. Now, the notion that HR managers can be fired is not very true, because if you're, like I said, if you're not putting in the work, if you're not bringing in the results, then there's that tendency for the management to say, okay, at this point we have to let you go because you're not delivering based on what you have said you can do. So
okay.
I would say that except you want us to come back, after the break, then we'll talk about about, who fires who and who has the right to fire who. Right?
I am very interested in that. So who fires who, and then who has the right to fire, especially when it concerns the employees now. And then we go to the part where you are standing in the capacity of the HR consultant and the HR manager, what you would want your employees to know. You've already touched on it, but I want you to shine more light on it, that the HR managers are not necessarily devil. What does that mean? Because you have to agree with me that the HR managers have a bad name, yes. Right? Yeah, so you will be convincing us and trying not to confuse us that HR managers are good. You're listening to Office Journal here in Smooth 98.1.
Just music, it's smooth music.
Oh my days. Someone is asking how they can reach you on the show. Okay, maybe at the end of the show we will see the details.
Come 25th February, you only get one vote. It doesn't matter if you got your PVC 4 years ago or you got it this year. If you decide not to vote, that's a wasted vote. If you vote for a candidate that can't win, that's a wasted vote. If you vote for a candidate who is a party to the crisis we're trying to break free from, that's a very wasted vote. A vote for PDP is a vote to recover Nigeria. PDP!
Sponsored by the PDP Presidential Campaign Council.
I know say everybody getting time, I don't go lose face. As I dey hustle every day, I want to be look face. Cause I know say one day I can make it. Yes, I know say one day I can blow. We move, we move, we move, we move, we move. We move, we move, we move, we move, we move. Yeah. Cause I know say one day I can make it. Yes, I know say one day I can blow. We move, we move, we move, we move, we move. We move, we move, we move.
Turn that fear into victory.
Cause I know say one day I can make it.
What are we doing today?
Hey, dude, what's up? Oh, dude, you look tired.
I didn't rest well. Oh. The heat, eh? Hey, then I had this nightmare and woke up in a pool of my sweat.
It was just you the dream. Well, mine was just the opposite. My LG Gencool AC was on, so I slept like a baby.
The new LG Gencool air conditioners comes with Gen Mode multi-step and voltage care features that provides different levels of cooling while ensuring your AC functions over a wide range of voltage. You get to save 70% energy no matter
So
the
when we
number
come
of
back,
people
I'll
in the
start
room.
with the
This
message
is
that
in
we got
addition to
last
its
week, because we were asking if you had the ears of your HR manager, what would you tell him? I was not able to pull up all the messages, but I'll pull up one. I was able to get one. So, and then we go to the part where maybe HR managers are the devil or not.
LG.
All right, we're back.
Hi, my name is Richard Dominic, and this is Smooth.
And you're in the right place. So this is Smooth 98.1. The topic right now is about HR managers, what the HR managers need the employees to know. And I have an HR consultant here in the studio, well, on Zoom with me. Her name is Aderonke Salami. Last week, I was asking you what you would have said to your HR manager, assuming you had an audience and you had all their ears with you. I got some messages, but unfortunately, right now, I'm not able to go back to them. But I still have one from Humphrey, and he said it, I'll read it out. He said, if I had the ears of my HR manager, I would tell him to be more objective and people-oriented and try to understand what he's not doing well. That's making most of the staff members leave the organization. A lot of people resigned, including myself, have just resigned from our duties at work, and it's all relating to poor HR performance and work subjection, my two Ps. So I'm not even sure where to start from, Aderonke.
All right.
What would you have said to that? Especially in the context of knowing that sometimes HR managers, before the break, we said HR managers already have that bad name. How did they even get there? Is it that there is that slight tinge of, power? We say power corrupt, absolutely. And you feel you have power and you just stop listening to people and all of that. I don't know, this is just me speculating.
Well, to be honest, right, I wouldn't fault anybody because there's been bad experience, but I'll play the devil's advocate here and say that not everybody is the same. I have worked with, I'm in the community of a lot of amazing HR people. And I would say, when we first started, right, I decided to do a disclaimer initially because I was like, the truth is the HR manager, HR person, executive, head of department is also an employee in the organization. Now, while you say that, power, can
Corrupt.
be corrupt,
Yeah.
I can agree to an extent, but I would say that not every decision that the HR manager makes is their decision, right? One of the things that I forgot to mention is that one of the work or one of the jobs or the roles of the HR manager is to also do strategic planning. But strategic planning with the consent of, the top management. You can't force what you have recommended. You can't force it down. It's except you're the owner of the company, right? Or you're part of the board, or, depending on the structure. But I would say that Humphrey is right. It would have been very nice. I've got, a lot of professionals come to me and, express their displeasure about their HR managers. And I'll just say this, that this is why, someone like me is always, on social media, just preaching the good about, our roles. It's not always an easy task. We'll definitely be considered the quote and unquote the devil, because we're in the middle, right? It's, we're being pulled from one side to the other side, and, trying to make sure and manage all of this. And that's where emotional intelligence comes in. And, I'm just enjoying a lot of HR managers out there that, in the bid to want to make sure you're delivering on your role, you have to also be emotionally intelligent about how you administer and handle the role that is expected of you.
Okay, I think I have an interesting question from this person. That is Abigail Stephen says, I just want to ask what might be a ridiculous question, but as a recent job seeker, I've had a long list of questions. 1, why don't HR managers take the risk on entry-level candidates? Not forgetting that when they say entry level, they still give a tight job description and years of experience. That's just number 1. So we're taking one step at a time.
Okay, so for that, I have a very good explanation. I think I have a very good explanation for that. Right. Okay, so this is what I always share with people when they reach out to me. I say this, you have to understand that every business is focused on their ROIs, right? Well, that is not supposed to be it, but that's usually the reason why anybody would establish a company. And so one of the things that any organization will want to do is have competent hands or experienced hands who can, take their businesses to the next level. Now, in terms of entry level roles, I always say that if you let me put it this way, there shouldn't be an excuse for you not to have experience. Why? You can always volunteer. So even if you haven't gotten what you want at the time, always give, value out there, that way it builds up on your CV, it builds up on your experience. So when you are trying to get in a job and they're asking you for 2 years experience or thereabout, you have something to actually give and say, okay, I have done. Another aspect is this. Most organizations, small businesses, let me use small businesses, don't have the luxury to say, or to have someone who is just starting out to say, we're working on the job, or you're learning on the job, while they need to make income. At the end of the day, the truth is, you're going to get paid at the end of the day. So if just trying to struggle to get you on board, it becomes an issue for them, right? As compared to organizations that are already established and are large, they have that tendency to put you in the midst of an already existing setup or an existing structure that it doesn't affect so much when they realize that you are an entry-level person, because you're under somebody, you're learning on the job, as compared to a small business who just needs specific roles to just get work done, to get things done, to get their clients, to get money into the company. So I think I'll try to answer it, diplomatically.
That is the word, and you are just being diplomatic about it, but we understand. Don't worry, nobody will fire you. You're our guest, and nobody. Well, Abigail, I hope that answers your question. You can keep the questions coming to 0809-444-0981. Again, 0809-444-0981. That's the WhatsApp line. But you can call on 01-448-9981. Again, it is 01-448-9981. That is the call line. Then let's go to the second one, still from Abigail. Says, are HR managers trained to not establish a rapport with interviewee during interview? You know what? I'll hold on the text and try to take this call and then return to that. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning. What's your name and location?
My name is Idris. I'm calling from Beda.
Your name is what?
Idris.
Idris, thank you for calling. Do you have a question or contribution?
My pleasure. Actually, about the HR, I just had one experience with one company. I don't want to mention the name of the company.
Please don't. Thank you.
I wanted to do an IT at one of the airlines, one of the top airlines around 2011, 12. It's a Nigerian airline, but they were the one top in Nigerian airline. They go to anywhere. So it happened to be like I want an IT. I'm an IT. I had an experience, and I went to this man. Someone told me the HR is Mr. So. Just go and meet him. He's a very nice man. He's actually I'm a Muslim, and he said the person is a Muslim too. So I now went ahead to meet him without Muslims. So all those people that are the counter, they allow me to meet him. So when I meet him, they say that there's no space. There's no way we can pick an IT that does not have experience. So I went back. Later, I met the manager. And the manager told this HR to find a place for me. That is our brother. Just find a place for him. The man told me, don't let me ever see you here again. Don't let me see you here again. So what I understand is that they are only getting another from top. And some HR manager, they do what they like. Even though if their manager told you to do something, they still insist on doing what they want. Do you understand? So that is the complaint. And also, why are they always asking for a 10 years experience for someone that just finished university?
Thank you for sharing, Idris.
Seriously, I can't lie to you. Thank God I have my own business now in travel and consultancy. But if you really pay me, I can never forget that kind of trouble.
Thank you.
It was painful then.
Thank you for sharing.
You're welcome.
Well, good to know you have your thing now. So all the best.
Thank you.
Okay, so I will tell you to pause on your thoughts, because even if you think that is very interesting, wait until I take the message of Ikedia. So we'll go on this last break. When we come back, you can let it all out, what you would like to say to Idris, what you would like to say to Abigail, and of course the message I'll read from Ikedia. So you're listening to Office Journal here on Smooth 98.1.
Silky smooth 98.1.
See, very few people actually agree that HR managers are cool.
Or a business owner.
Yeah, I know that.
Oh, wow.
I remembered one of the last interviews that I did, and that was in December. And one of them, after the conversation that we had, one of them said, "Yeah, this is the first time that I'm going to go for an interview, and I'm relaxed." Wow. Wow, that's deep.
The truth is, sometimes people are preparing for job interviews in Nigeria, and it's like you're going to war zone. Because some HR managers and some, I don't even know if they're HR managers, but some recruiting officers, they make it feel like they are judge and jury, and it's crazy. It's unfair, really.
To be honest, there's a need for a real overhaul.
You said?
There's a need for a real overhaul of the entire, especially in Nigeria.
We do need it. I was going to ask that.
This experience is not just, it's not just, Nigeria as a whole. This is something that's global. This is something that's global.
Yeah, actually. Okay, so we're coming back.
Hi, my name is Lindsay Abde, and you're tuned to Smooth 90.
The show right now is Office Journal. We're streaming live on YouTube. My guest is Aderonke Salami. My name is Oluwaseun, and I'm taking your calls and messages. You can start with WhatsApp. It is 0809 4440981. If you can send that message in the space of the next 5 minutes, I'll take it. And if you can call in the space of that 5 minutes, I'll take it as well, because after that, we do not have enough time. So I'll go back to the message of Abigail. First, the other question is, are HR managers trained not to establish a rapport with interviewees during interview? For people that have been in the industry for long, I'm sure you've seen and heard the same format of application and answers to questions. So why do some frown at unconventional but refreshing way of answering questions? And then just to complete it before I take your thoughts, Aderonke, she further says, also, I got value already from what Mrs. Aderonke said when she said HR manager task doesn't revolve around recruiting and scouting. It goes further into having people's skills. I really just have one wish though. It can still be formal and professional, but I'd like to see more HRs make the interview process a bit more interactive rather than a fire drill. Nigeria is tensed already. Okay, over to you.
Okay, we're not trained to not have rapport. I believe that when it comes to, well, this is my personal belief, because I've been on both sides where I've been interviewed and I have interviewed. And I know my experience, and I know that, there's been so much, when, how they say, when 2, 3, 4, 5 people say the same thing, then there's no lie in it. And that's the same thing. But to be honest, we're not trained to not have rapport. Personally, I like to have rapport. When I interview people, because that way I get to know you and I get to understand how and what you can do. It's not just enough for me to see what you put on paper, but it's also, there's that angle where I need to understand the kind of person that you are. Like I was saying to you just when we went on break, that, it is very important that we start to preach that message out there, that the interview room is a two-way street. I'm sure anybody who follows me on LinkedIn have seen my post on those, that it is two people or two or more people who come together with the aim of achieving value or receiving value and giving value. One side is, I want to be able to get this person in this role, and the other side is, I want to be in that role, and this is what I can offer. Like I said, I can't speak for all HR managers, but I can speak for at least a percentage where I say that not every one of us, is like that. I'm hoping that a lot of people get to meet better HR managers or hiring managers, when they get to interview. But I also like to chip this in. Every organization is different. The kind of recruiting process, that each organization has is also different. Some organizations would say that take for instance, I'll still use the customer service role. If the hiring manager is trying to recruit for a customer service executive, one of the things that I've seen companies do is that the hiring team consists of the HR manager, the recruitment manager, a member of the customer service department. So sometimes you can see yourself, in the midst of 3, 4 people at the same time interviewing you, and you'll be getting questions left, right, center, being fired on all grounds. The person you're speaking to or who's firing you might not just even be the HR manager. It just might be a member of the customer service team. But unfortunately, everybody's roped as HR manager or hiring manager or recruitment manager. So once they have a bad experience, it is the HR manager.
So
I hope that answers the question to Abigail.
I hope it does too. But what you just touched on, I think I'm getting an idea. In fact, it's already an idea. And later in February, I would want to have you back. What you touched on about different people firing questions from different angles during a recruitment process. We need to talk about what a proper recruitment process looks like, because that a person is looking for a job. does not mean they are less of a human. Sometimes we put people through unnecessary conditions just because you want to hire them. There was a particular tweet that went viral. I don't know if it is really true or not, but the person said they asked him if he could work on that pressure. For the love of everything you hold dear, why is that still a question you're asking people in 2023? What pressure do you want to put on them? What are those flags? We need to talk about the HR manager. Wait, let me finish.
We do need to talk about, this is one of the posts I'll be making in the coming weeks, where I'll be sharing questions we shouldn't be asking.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, I can just quickly do a quick brief of how my recruitment process is like. My recruitment process is just, a three-step process, which includes also the management as well. I mean, whoever it is that, whichever company I am, helping, or consulting for.
Yeah.
I don't believe in a very long process. I don't think it makes any sense. And I just believe it's usually a waste of time, because you can always get what you need when you have a conversation with the candidate. By now, we should know that we should be changing that narrative. We should be changing, that we should normalize just having a straightforward recruitment process where it's easy on. Like I said before, the interview room is supposed to be a two-way process. It's not just for one. It shouldn't be one-sided, right? It shouldn't be just on the organization's team alone, but the candidates, those who are coming on board, should also have a say as to why they should be in that organization. And that's why we always leave room for questions to be asked.
This question you talked about, again, takes my mind to something I thought. So I don't know if you were aware of that time, person, I think it was Director DG on Twitter, asked a question that when people went to an interview session, at what point did you know you were not going to get the job? And there was one of it that stuck to you. Yeah, you saw it. There was one of it that stuck to my mind. He said, when it was time for questions, that the HR manager or whoever the hiring person was in that moment said, do you have any questions for us? The person that was being interviewed, asked 5 questions, compared to the 3 questions that the hiring manager asked. And guess what the hiring manager said? So apparently he was counting. He said, oh, you have asked me 5 questions. Looks like you're the one who will be, I will be the one who will be working for you, going by how many questions you have asked. And it was at that point he knew he was not going to get the job. Of course, he didn't get the job. So I was thinking, why would you not hire a person because they were asking too many questions? Unless there is another part the person was not telling us. So,
well, I feel like at this point we should put into consideration personality in all of this. Every person, every HR person is a different person. No 2 persons are the same. So the way I would hire, will be different from the way the next person will hire. At the end of the day, don't ask questions you don't want to answer. Don't ask them to ask questions that you wouldn't answer in the first place.
Exactly.
So don't give that room if you're not going to answer the question, because they have the right to ask. They're the ones going to be in that organization. You're not going to be there with them, at the end of the day. So please, we need to do better.
So I will close us off with this last one that I will give out just some seconds to you to give a reaction to it. So Ikedia says, I'm sorry, but I don't think there is any reason for a HR department in any company. I see it as a way for a manager to pass his responsibilities to someone else. After all, it's a company, not a daddy daycare. The name of the game is hire and fire. The boss should hire the best and fire the worst. I don't know what to say. In some seconds, what do you have to say?
Well, for me, it's just the same way you say, why do you need a customer service executive? The boss is not going to speak to the clients directly. You are speaking on behalf of the boss. That's the reason why you have HR managers as well. So the same way you need to have customer service people is the same way you need to have HR people as well.
Okay, so I know I know I gave you seconds, but 2 questions came in immediately at the same time, asking the same thing. So I guess we need to quickly take it. So 2 people, Vincent and I don't recall her name now, says, why are they using age as a problem? Vincent is asking if age should even be asked in interview. And secondly, the other lady says, why are they using age as a problem instead of performance? So quickly.
We shouldn't be using, at this time, we shouldn't be using age. The only reason why that might be occurring is depending on the role, right? A lot of it depends, and like I mentioned before, every organization is different.
Yeah.
Some organizations have policies already stated in their organization. They have policies and procedures. So if they're telling you that age is the problem, that means there's a reason why you shouldn't be, if they say, between 10 to, if you're 10 years to 35 years, you shouldn't apply for something. There's a reason for it. And that's what I'll just say on that aspect.
Thank you so much. We're so over time. Thank you for your time and your presence and your explanation and your defense. Okay, you can take all the questions you have to her page. First start on LinkedIn. She's very active there. She's even a LinkedIn influencer. So you're searching for Aderonke Salami. That's Aderonke Salami. So search for her there. You can go to Instagram. Aderonke Salami is what you're searching for. And also on Twitter, I believe. Just search for her there and you'll find it. And if you want this interview, you can go back to our YouTube channel and you'll find it. You can share it with someone too. I hope everything has been helpful so far. Thank you again. I have to go. So catch you another time. Yeah.
Thank you so much for having me.
Bye.
Bye.
Oh my, the questions just kept pouring in. So it's like they've been waiting for someone to take out their HR problems.
It's just so sad sometimes. I feel so bad.
Yeah.
There's a lot of work to do when it comes to the HR. And I was telling you earlier, like this is something that I experienced in December directly, and I had to hire like 3 HR generalists for a company, and the feedback was really terrible from the HR generalists, and and it's just sad that we still have organizations till now, it's a horrible experience, but I feel like we just have to keep, speaking about it. It's just the way we have, the way feminism started and all of these things. Even with the way feminism is, we still have, if you come up north, the country, there's nothing like feminism. You still see women kneeling down to cook, kneeling down to serve the food, but there's, we have that, and that's the way I see HR as well. We just keep talking and talking about it till people get the quote unquote the message.
Yeah, I hope so, honestly, because it's one of the reasons I said in my life, I won't search for a job, because I've been to few interviews and I absolutely hated it. But hopefully we have people. I think again, it boils down to the individuals, their personality. There are people who have power issues. There are people, sometimes when somebody does something to you, you'd keep it and you want to go back and do it to others. The same way we have sadists as lecturers sometimes, and they tell you, okay, I went through stress and to get this grade, you have to go through. So it's messed up. It goes back to the kind of person you are.
Yes, that's what I would say, because I just shocked, like the same December when I was speaking to people, it just shocked me that someone had to actually point out the fact that, I'm going to take this job just because of how we had a conversation. And I'm like, wow, can't even imagine what your experience has been like so far. I feel like as humans, we should just even do better, really. It's that simple.
And the last one, which I pointed out on air, was that I don't think some HR managers understand that it can be fired.
withdraws the
I don't think they
instituted at the
understand that
National
fact
Industrial
because
Court
of how
against
they
the
have made
unions.
themselves.
Negotiations on staff welfare to resume Wednesday.
I think that, well, I feel like it depends on the organization, right? We see situations where the head of departments is, very close. Like I had a personal experience where it was really crazy because at the end of the day, we were under the corporate affairs unit, and my experience there was so bad. The head of corporate affairs, the management, they have meetings on a daily, just figuring out how to make sure that at the end of the month, some people don't receive salary, complete. It was a tough experience. I didn't last there because I'm like, nah, this is.
It will be held on Saturday regarding
Wow.
whatever decision that has been made in today's meeting.
Okay,
According to reports, the
network.
resident doctors stated in a letter that the association had issued an ultimatum to the federal government 6 months earlier due to lingering unresolved issues affecting its
Thank
members,
you
which
to
includes
everyone
the
who was a part
outstanding
of the
payments of
stream.
the
Now
arrears
it's time
and
for us to
money-handling
go.
allowance on the
Bye.